On today's show, several players left to talk about. Stay or go. Sam Merrill, Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade, DeAndre Hunter, maybe, I don't know. Spencer Davies is back for part 2 of this Stay or Go Locked on Cavs episode.
You are Locked on Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name is Danny Cunningham. You might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like my Substack, The Inside Shot, Cleveland Magazine, 92.3 The Fan, and a number of other stops along the way. Joined again today by Spencer Davies, of Cleveland Cavaliers on SI, Cavaliers Courtside, their podcast on SI as well. Make sure you check him out everywhere that you get your Cavs stuff. And thank you for making Locked on Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked on Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching the show on YouTube, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked on Cavs content. A proud part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Spencer, yesterday we talked about the core four, and then Ty Jerome. And we were planning on talking about basically the entire roster in a 35-minute podcast. Well, that didn't happen. We talked about 5 guys in a 35-minute podcast. So now what we're going to do is we are going to talk about the rest of the roster. So if you're looking for what we think about Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, Jarrett Allen, and Ty Jerome, that all happened on Thursday's episode. So go find that wherever you're listening to this, whether it's YouTube or your podcast platform of choice. It is already there. If you want to hear about everybody else, do I have the podcast for you? So we finished yesterday's episode by talking about Ty Jerome. And I wanted to group Ty Jerome and Sam Merrill together because there's something that they have in common. And that something is that they're both free agents. And I think that the caliber of free agent they are, or the interest that they will have on the open market, is very, very different. This isn't to say both guys are going to be back or both guys are going to be gone. But I do think retaining Sam Merrill might be a little bit easier and certainly easier on the pocketbooks than retaining Ty Jerome will be. So I ask you, Sam Merrill, stay or go, and why?
I think Sam should stay. I feel like Kenny Atkinson just kind of talked him up so much this year, not because of his three-point shooting, but his defensive acumen. And I know that from the naked eye, you look at him, you think that that's the easy target. That's the guy to pick on. But he firms up.
Why do you think that?
It's just, you look at his size, you look at him, and that's just what it is. It is what it is. They talked about that.
He was on Locked on Cavs last summer. I had Sam Merrill on Locked on Cavs last summer, and I would love if Sam Merrill comes back on Locked on Cavs this summer. But we were talking about, because before this season, and maybe not to the level Kenny Atkinson does, but before this season, I would think Sam Merrill really is, he gets a bad rap as a defender. Like, he's not a minus defensively. No one's going to confuse him with a defensive player of the year type guy, but he's not a bad defender either. And I sort of like talked around that. I'm like, you're always kind of in the right place at the right time. He goes, I'm a white guy. Like, that's what it is.
I love it.
It's like, we know why I get targeted. And I'm like, well, you said it.
He also he looks like a nice guy too.
He's a very nice guy. I like Sam Merrill a lot. I don't think he's as good of a defender as Kenny Atkinson maybe makes him out to be. And certainly I think that the Cavs have different defensive metrics and performance markers that they look at internally that you and I don't have access to. And I don't know that there's a good way publicly to quantify defense, but I do think Sam holds up relatively well on that end of the floor. He also is a really, really good shooter who takes some really, really tough shots. So his 3-point percentage, I don't necessarily think always reflects the caliber of shooter he is. And I also wonder, do other teams realize this too? Like, if I'm sitting here and thinking this, if I were running another team, what would I pay to have Sam Merrill join me in free agency? Like, those are the questions that kind of go through my mind when you have this conversation.
Well, everyone could use a 6'5" shooter. Like, that's a easy answer there. And, Sam, even though it wasn't like his best shooting year, this is also like he's only like a year and a half into being a full-time rotational player. I think that's also something we have to take into account. So the more experience for him, the better. I think that when you look at offensively, a lot of people will just see the shooting piece, but it's the off-ball stuff that he does that creates a vacuum for the Cavs to be able to open up the floor. And that's, I think, especially with Evan Mobley, we were talking about that on Thursday's episode, just his star rising, his ability to play make being a better. I think Sam Merrill as a movement shooter coming off of DHOs is something that draws attention. He's going to be on the scout if he's shooting above, 38, 39% from deep. Like, it's just how it is. And you know that he's trademark, he's a shooter. He is a sharpshooter for sure. And the ability to be a movement shooter, the ability to draw attention while you're cutting or going through the offense, just similar to Max Strus, just slithering around trying to find your spots and relocating and all that stuff. Sam's very valuable in that. Defensively, I think the metrics that a lot of people will see is like, before it was charges taken, but now he's actually drawing assignments. But the thing that sticks out to me is how Donovan Mitchell talks about Sam Merrill. And I think that tells you the kind of competitor that Sam is. And people that were looking for dogs in the playoffs the last couple of years, and you want a dog on your team and you don't want to be considered soft, like hearing that about Sam's competitive spirit, I think makes him a great candidate to stick around. And defensively, like asking for the toughest assignments and doing his damnedest to stay in front. Like I admire that. I admire that. And I mean, you can't teach that stuff.
Right. And I don't know if starting him in the first couple of games of the Indiana series was the right decision for the Cavs, just based on what they need. Like, I think it made sense against Miami, but I don't know that it made the same sense against Indiana. And that also kind of might be a tell as far as, the Cavs might have been expecting Darius Garland to be back for the start of the Indiana series. And I think Sam should be back. I think he's a great shooter. I think those guys are very hard to find. I think the offensive gravity that he has, where if he's not coming off of screens, if he's just standing in the corner, he's not going to be left alone. And I think that you can't have too many guys like that, especially guys that can hold up defensively. And I also wonder too, when you are Sam Merrill's age, where he just turned 29, and you have been a minimum contract guy basically your entire career, I wonder if that's going to change. Like, I wonder if he's at the point in his career where that's just who Sam Merrill is going to be. He's going to be somebody that is never going to sign a big deal. He's never going to sign for more than like $3 or $4 million a year. And if that's the case, he should be back in Cleveland.
Yeah. If he commands anything more than that, then you obviously have to make a decision. And if someone pays him, I don't know, like $9 million, something,
if he gets $9 million from somebody else, he's gone. I feel very confident saying that.
I am in agreement with that. Like, I think like fit wise, like the immediately thought was like, if it wasn't Cleveland, to be like Orlando, because Orlando's desperately needed shooters for a while. Like, I feel like that's such a good fit for him. But if he's willing to, if the Cavs are like, okay, you deserve a payday for sure. Let's, like you said, 3-4 million, 5's probably your max, just thinking about the cap sheet. But like, it's almost like back pay for him though. Like earning his way up, being the first overall pick in the G League draft a few years back, and then making his way up to the team and becoming a rotational player. Something that's happened to a lot of different guys on this Cavs team. And I'm sure that we'll get to the next guy too that's done that, and the next guy, because they're really good at just kind of discovering these gems. Sam definitely deserves to get a little bit more cash than the minimum. So hopefully he gets it, and hopefully he sticks around, because like I said, he's got a hell of a competitive spirit, and it's a skill set you need in the league today to be able to shoot.
Yeah, you do. I think that what he can provide too, and I think he can do more than just shoot offensively. That's obviously what he's going to be known for, but I think that he's a valuable piece, and I think it would make sense for the Cavs to bring him back if they can. That said, I would expect one of him or Ty Jerome to be gone. I think they feel good about both individually, but I just don't know that you can afford to potentially retain both. And as I said, if somebody offers Sam more than $5 million, I'd be surprised if the Cavs matched that.
I would agree.
That's going to be the case there.
I would agree with that. And I was actually on a cap show with my guy Yossi Goslan over at Third Apron, and he, for what it's worth, thinks that neither of them will be retained. So we'll figure that out. But he's also obviously all over the free agency and looking at the cap sheets and all that stuff. So just take that with a grain of salt.
I think that is very possible. I don't know if I would say that's the most likely outcome. I think the most likely outcome is one of those guys is back, but I think it's very possible that neither of them are back in Cleveland next year. We have to talk about a couple guys that I think the Cavs should look into trading. We're going to do that next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show brought to you by DoorDash. NBA fans, you know what time it is. Playoff season. That means big performances and even bigger rewards. And DoorDash is bringing the heat with a slam dunk deal for Dash Pass members during the 2025 NBA playoffs. That's these playoffs. It's called They Swoosh, You Score. Anytime a player drops 50 or more points in a playoff game, Dash Pass members score a free 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the very next day. Just place an order of $20 or more. Use the code WINGSTOP50. That is WINGSTOP50 at checkout. And the combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, and totally free. What's better than that? Offer valid noon to midnight the day after the game. Terms do apply. And of course, sign up for Dash Pass to unlock this and more exclusive deals all season long. Like I said, when a player scores 50 in a playoff game or more, Dash Pass members can grab a free 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the next day with a $20 order or more and code WINGSTOP50. That's Dash Pass, your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And Spencer, the other guy that I do think they should look into trading, or not the other guy they should look into trading. I guess we did kind of talk about Jared Allen in that sense, but I think there's two guys that I'm going to put in the go category. I want to start with Isaac Okoro first. He's making $11 million. He signed as a restricted free agent last year. I think that it makes sense for the Cavs to move on from Okoro at this point. Where are you at on him?
I'm kind of in the same boat, just unfortunate, but it just seems like the timing is always really bad for Isaac. Like, he can find a niche, he find a role, he'll excel in that role for a 10 to 15 game stretch, then something happens. He gets injured, or his shoulder, or his ankle, like whatever it may be. I just feel like every time that you've almost gotten to that point where you're like, all right, Isaac's found it. He's found it. Something happens, and then it just takes him out for the rest of the season. Like, he doesn't look like himself. I think the playoff stuff at this point is real. Unfortunately, just hasn't been able to make shots. Hasn't taken as many shots as you wanted him to as well. Amazing defender. Absolutely an NBA caliber defender. Somebody who is one of the best on ball. I think off ball is very active, knows how to stay on a man, especially those movement guys. It's just unfortunate though, if you're a minus offensively on the court, you can't be on a championship team. It's hard, but it's just the reality of the situation. And then, as I was mentioning on the last episode, talking about Jalen Tyson and seeing if he can get up to that next role, and he's really locked in on trying to up his defensive game. I think offensively he gives you just as much as Okoro, and he's as active. He's more on the glass. He's a hustle guy that could really supplant Isaac in that particular role. Maybe he's not quite at the level of an Isaac defensively, but offensively, he's going to get offensive boards. He's going to be active in the mix. I just think Isaac just a little too static for me. I know that Kenny got him involved in a lot. I loved him in the short roll this year. I don't think they used that enough in the playoffs, by the way. But it just seems like he's limited, and that makes it difficult.
He is limited, and I think it's really hard to win a title. And this is why Isaac really wasn't in the rotation in the playoffs, at least not when it mattered. Although he did play in Game 5 as Kenny opted to go defense over offense. And maybe if Isaac would have been starting, things would have been better for him, would have been better for the Cavs instead of Sam Merrill at the start of the series. We'll never know. But I look at this and say, can you win a title in 2026, 2027, years we expect the Cavs to be competing for championships, by playing a guy who opponents don't need to guard for 15 minutes a game in the playoffs? I don't think you can. You can get away with that in the regular season. And I do wonder, and this is maybe a sliding doors moment for us here, but think back to that December game in Brooklyn where Isaac Okoro runs into a screen set by Ben Simmons, and Isaac messed up his right shoulder. And to that point in the season, he was having a great season. He was shooting the heck out of the basketball. I think he was shooting like 47% from three. Like he was amongst the league leaders in 3-point percentage. Now, it wasn't on some super high volume, but teams were leaving him open, and he was consistently making those shots. And then he came back from that shoulder injury. I think he played like 5 or 6 games. He played 5 games and then went away for another few weeks because that shoulder wasn't right, and he didn't return until after the All-Star break. And then from after the All-Star break on, he was not the same player anymore. Like he went from shooting 47% before that injury to shooting 42% from three after that injury. And one of the things I asked him at exit interviews was if that was still lingering him, and he didn't really want to give a straight answer, which I understand. But I do wonder if that doesn't happen, if he doesn't hurt his shoulder, are we talking about him differently?
I think so. And I think there's still absolutely a world where Isaac could come back. As we mentioned earlier, if Jerome and Merrill are gone, then yeah, I think he sticks around because he's already on the roster and he's got familiarity. But if, one of those guys stays, it just gets really expensive. It gets really expensive because you have Evan now has won Defensive Player of the Year. He's all defense team, and he's also all NBA now. So that makes his contract even greater. And then you have Darius Garland on the max. You have Donovan Mitchell on the max. Hunter and Allen are making over 20 each. That's a big, big cap sheet. And then you have to think to yourself or ask yourself, is this justifiable? So that's what it's really tough to do because you want to be able to maintain that depth. But that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for someone who's probably the 8th or 9th guy on the team. So
if that, and we've talked about how many guys so far. I think he's the 7th guy we've talked about, and we've not talked about Max Strus, who is certainly ahead of him. We've not talked about DeAndre Hunter, certainly ahead of him. We've not talked about those guys just because I think it's very, very likely they're going to be back. Like, I just don't know how we will get to them, but there's not as much of a conversation with them as there is these guys. But if he would have been the guy he was for the first 23 games of the season, when he shot 49.2% from three, would have been a different story. But that's such a low volume too, only taking 2.7 per game, that I don't know it matters. And would I welcome Isaac Okoro back if Ty Jerome and Sam Merrill are gone? Yeah, of course. Like, I don't think Isaac's a bad basketball player. I don't know if he's a championship caliber basketball player, but he's not a bad basketball player either. But if it comes down to, hey, if we shed Isaac's salary and we can retain Ty and or both Ty and Sam, I think it's worth it for the Cavs. And another guy who might be in that same boat is Dean Wade, because you look at him, he's making less money than Isaac at 6.6. He's an expiring contract. He'll be a free agent a year from right now. I also have some serious questions about him as a playoff player. Like, I think Dean, in theory, it's become to the point where, like, when Dean first got on the scene, he was sort of like this niche hero, right? It's like, the advanced metrics for Dean Wade are awesome, and what he does defensively is so great, and all this stuff is true. And I like Dean a lot as a basketball player. I think he's a really good guy in that locker room, but I also don't think that he shoots the basketball enough. And it's different with Dean than Isaac, because I'm more confident in Dean as a shooter, but I think Isaac is actually less hesitant to shoot.
He is. I think that's fair. And there's some reason Dean's been gun shy. I think it's just because he thinks the other guys should be getting the shots. But the thing is, they got to give him the green light, especially in the playoffs, because Dean is super valuable. I think, like, one of their best rebounders, like probably their best rebounder behind Jarrett, even maybe more than Evan, right? It's interesting. Like, defensive rebounding, really good. Obviously, a hustle guy, and his ability to stretch the floor is solid. He can obviously guard guys who are 3/4. At a great rate. And he's the Boston killer, right? Like that's the guy that's the team that he loves to play against. For Dean though, like you can't be taking 3 field goal attempts if you're going to be getting minutes. Just cannot happen. You got to let it fly, man. And I just think there's a bit of the yips there. I don't know. It's interesting because at the beginning of the season before he got hurt, and then Isaac starts coming back into the starting lineup, and then Dean gets sick. At the beginning of the year, I think before that they had him shooting. I'm not sure what you do to get that out of him, but I'll tell you this. He has a better chance of staying because of the fact that they don't have a backup 5. So he's the one that Kenny will play in those smaller lineups. And I think that he loves that Wade, Mobley, Hunter combination. And I think we'll see more of that if Dean comes back. But it's something to where, like, you need someone who is, like, at least 6'10" to be able to play the 5. And he's able to grab boards, like I said earlier. And he's definitely basketball savvy, and he has the size, but is he going to take shots? Like you said, that's something you got to pull out of a guy. I don't know if you ever get there.
I would feel so much better about him as a championship caliber role player if instead of Dean Wade taking 3 points, I got to go look and see what it is because I want to get this right. But he played in 20 minutes in the regular season, took 3.8 threes per game. In 15 minutes in the postseason, took 1.6. I need that number. I need his per 36 3-point shooting number. And I realize he's not going to play 36 minutes in a playoff game. And if he does, you're probably not in great shape. But I need his per 36 3-point attempt number to be above 6. I need it to be 6 or 7. It's 3.5 right now for this postseason run that the Cavs just went on. And he played in all 9 games. That number needs to be greater if you're going to get the most out of Dean Wade. He's an excellent defender. He's a great shooter. That is, I think, the thing that is frustrating is that it's not as if he is a bad shooter that's hesitant. He's a really good shooter that's hesitant. And I think that's actually worse.
It's weird. I can't figure that one out. And I think that's all up here. And I also, like I said, I feel like he feels like I'm the last option on the floor, so I shouldn't take shots. But the reality is you're helping your team if you take those shots. You are legitimately hurting your team by not taking those shots while on the floor.
And I wonder if it hasn't clicked by now, if it will ever click. Well, we've got a starter left. We've got a 6-man left in. Of course, some young guys to get to. We're going to do that straight ahead right here on Locked on Cavs. Today's episode is brought to you by Epicor. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build and practicing every detail to get the best results. But no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes getting the win easier. And at Epicor, the All-Stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver the things we all need, from aerospace to electrical to medical devices. Epicor ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day easier. Seeing your whole supply chain is easier. Managing logistics is easier. Responding to price changes is easier. From small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with global visions, they'll equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way. Because as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most out of every hardworking minute. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier takes the lead. Discover your success at easierwithepicor.com. That is easierwithepicor.com. Thank you again for making Locked on Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, if you're watching on YouTube, do us a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for us. Click subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked on Cavs content. Max Strus is the next one worth talking about, Spencer. Obviously, he has been, for most of his time in Cleveland, a member of the starting 5. He missed a significant chunk of the season at the start with that sprained right ankle. I was really happy with what Max was able to give this team in the postseason. I know he had a bad game 5, but overall, I thought he had a very strong postseason for the Cavs. He is somebody that I think is a championship level role player. I am firmly in the he should be around area of this exercise. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm on stay with him. He's one of the few on the team that has that nasty to him, and I think that is a big. They basically, Kenny called them his enforcer type. Like, he didn't say that directly, but I feel like that's what he was implying. And I think having one of those guys, an irritant, if you will, is definitely helpful in the playoffs. But also, when you just look at the skill set, man, like just like Sam, but just a little bit more bulky, movement shooter, guy that does a lot for you moving around off the ball, but also in pinches can handle and can make the pocket pass and get guys kind of to play it, and then also just kind of uplifting the spirit. Defensively, he was outstanding on Tyrese Halliburton, which I think gets glossed over a little. But
even better on Tyler Hero in the first round. And I understand that Miami was not a good team, but what he did against Tyler Hero was very, very impressive.
Yeah, he just has that kind of grit. He'll get you rebounds. I think he doesn't get nearly enough kind of love. I feel like that nasty hopefully got him a little bit more respect around these parts. I know internally they absolutely adore what Max is able to bring to the table, and I think the ability to shoot is always what people look at, but it's more than that. It's drawing the attention. It's the IQ. It's the basketball IQ that he has that is huge. And he might be a little wild sometimes. Like it's hysterical. I love watching Max play. I'm always watching with Spencer German. We're sitting at the games and you just see him moving around like he's the Tasmanian devil, man. He tries to go close out every 3-point shot. He's all over the place. Mr. Right place at the right time, making timely saves from going out of bounds. Maybe it's a back tap. He just has that kind of that competitive spirit, again, going back to what we were using with Sam before. And I feel like that's invaluable. You can't teach that stuff. And he's a big part of this team and should continue to be.
If I were the Cavs, I would go so far as I would be interested in signing Max to an extension this summer. He's got 2 years left on his deal, including this upcoming season, at 15.9 and 16.6. I would, if it's possible, I would look into trying to tack on a year or two to that deal. I think that he is a winner. I think he's somebody that brings a lot of quantifiable stuff. But I think he brings some other stuff that might not be as quantifiable, that might not show up in the box score. You brought up that nastiness, that sort of stuff. I think him being a part of the Cavs for the foreseeable future is in the best interest of the team. Another guy we have to talk about, DeAndre Hunter, acquired at the trade deadline. Karis LeVert, George Niang go out. Earlier this week, I did an episode about that trade and whether or not it actually did make the Cavs better this year, what the point of it was. But he is a member of the Cavs. And I have seen a couple of people, and I don't believe this should be the case. I am in the stay category here. I have seen a couple of people suggest that maybe shopping DeAndre Hunter would be a good thing this summer. I'm not there. Spencer, where are you at?
I'm not there either because you only got a little taste of what DeAndre Hunter can do. And he's the wing they've been looking for like 3-4 years now.
Right.
And I think he's absolutely a viable starting three if they decide to go that route. I know that we just talked about Max and how invaluable he is. Maybe they continue to bring DeAndre Hunter off the bench, but I think he was coming off a bench for a reason. He was with Ty Jerome to have a little bit of comfortability. You come in mid-season, it's tough to adjust. And I think keeping him in that same role was for that fact, so that he did have an ability to connect with his old friend, but also just coming off the bench, there was just a little bit of familiarity there. I think with a full training camp and going through the offseason, you look at some different stuff with DeAndre. I was very, very impressed by his ability to create for himself. I did not see a lot of that in Atlanta. He did a great job, whether it was the pull-up threes, getting by his man and getting to his mid-range, and even getting downhill, too. He's a bit of a 3-level scorer, to be quite honest. A little better handle than I thought he had. But he's also someone who's able to spot up in the corner if you need him to. He brings a lot to the table. I think defensively, a little bit, I don't know. He's not as good as I thought he was. But I think surrounded by the guys that are on the court, definitely somebody who covers a lot of ground and takes up a lot of space. Let's just say that. He takes up a lot of space. He doesn't move quite as well as I thought he did. But overall, a plus player.
He overall plus, certainly.
Yeah.
I was a little, I think, disappointed in him as a defender. I was impressed with him as an offensive player. I mean, he shot the basketball incredibly well. I think he finished just under 43% from three while wearing a Cavs uniform in the regular season. I also wonder with the defense and I know there was an adjustment for him, but how big that adjustment from playing in Atlanta to playing alongside Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, some really good defenders in Cleveland. Like, I wonder what that changed for him.
Yeah, it's a good question. I also have questions about his rebounding too. I think that's another.
I don't know that those are questions. I think that is something that needs to get better. Like, if the Cavs are going to, if the Cavs, as we talked about in yesterday's episode, if Jared Allen is gone, DeAndre Hunter needs to become a much better rebounder than he has been. Much better.
100%.
That is something that needs to happen.
Those are the shortcomings, but like we said, the offensive piece of this, I think, is something that you can really get creative with. And anything's possible with that jumper, man. At that apex, it's impossible to block. So
certainly is.
He's got a lot of talent, and he's really young still too. I think he's like 26, 27, right? So
he is, let me pull this up here. DeAndre Hunter is 27 years old. He'll be 28 in December.
Okay, so getting right into his prime now. So he goes with the timeline. He's on that Donovan Mitchell young but experienced timeline that I think they're in that kind of middle now. So it's a good fit. It's a really good fit.
All right, we've got 4 guys left. I'm going to go rapid fire on them. I want to start like kind of most likely to play next year versus least likely to play next year. Craig Porter Jr., stay or go?
Stay.
Yeah, I'm there too. I think that he is, I was a little disappointed in what he did in the, I guess, limited action he got this year, but I do think that he can be a quality backup point guard in the NBA.
He plays much bigger than his size, gets rebounds. The playmaking aspect could be a little bit better, but almost like his style is like mini Donovan Mitchell, kind of just goes right at you. He also has a little bit of shift to him, but I mean, everything I needed to see from Craig Porter Jr. happened in his rookie year when he attacked Joel Embiid on the baseline. I was like, that's the kind of dog you got in you.
Yes. Jalen Tyson, where are you at?
Stay. Get him in the rotation. The comp for him in the draft last year was Josh Hart type. If you can get someone who can rebound the basketball, make the kind of cleanup plays, be involved, be active. I know that the jump shot is a little bit hit or miss. Very hit or miss, actually. But I see this guy working out.
It is a make or miss league, Spencer.
It is, but the misses are very long. But I see this guy working out with the two-way guys and the trainers at the very end of practices. He's being lumped into there, and he was just outside of a lottery pick, and he's putting that kind of work in at the end of shoot-arounds and all that. That's a good sign. His competitive spirit is through the roof. He holds himself very accountable, too, and he plays with his heart on his sleeve. So I think that definitely gets you and earns you a spot in the rotation next year, and Kenny loves him.
I agree. I think he needs to go out and dominate Summer League. I think that he needs to play Summer League. I've not heard 100% for certain. I know it's leaning that way at least, that he will play Summer League for the Cavs, but he needs to look like he doesn't belong in the best way possible. I think that would be sort of the goal for him before we see him in training camp preseason. Like, that is the next thing we'll see. I think that should be the expectation. That should be the goal. Tristan Thompson.
Stay. He's your player coach. I think that he's very valued by this organization. It's almost like in the ilk of a Udonis Haslem, but he can come in and grab you 10 boards and
20 rebounds against the Pacers, man.
I was going to say, he could still, he's our age. Like, he's not that old. If you think about it.
That doesn't make me feel good.
Hey, man, I'm just coming to grips with it. But in all seriousness, he could set good screens. He's still able to get on the glass. He can still defend. He can still move pretty decently. For a third, fourth big, I'm cool with it. And obviously the mental piece and the veteran leadership that he has in that locker room and the relationship he has with those guys, I don't think it hurts anybody.
Javonte Green.
Too many cooks in the kitchen?
Yeah.
Probably go.
I just think that with where the Cavs are at financially, I would be surprised if they entered the season with a full 15-man roster.
Yeah.
I think they didn't do it this past year. I would be surprised if they do it. Like, they will eventually add a 15th guy the way that they did this year. But I think that they're going to want to probably have 14 guys, and that might mean he's not back.
I'm not saying he was the answer, but I was disappointed that he didn't play more in the playoffs.
Yeah. I agree.
Especially because of their reasoning and some of the stuff that they were missing from that was that kind of needed to give him a jolt during these runs. He didn't really play much. So a little disappointed in that too.
And then lastly, Chuma Okeke.
Hang on to him. Why not?
I agree.
Hang on to him.
I agree.
He's a former, 16th overall pick. I know injuries caught up to him or whatever, but he's got a unique build, and he's actually a pretty solid player. Like, he just has to stay healthy, man. Like, or he was in Orlando's rotation, a couple years back, and I thought that he brought some solid stuff to the table. And you never can have too many of those like 6'8", like wing types. So I like him. I think, and he's not going to cost you much. So,
well, he's a lottery ticket, and he's he has a team option, or I guess non-guaranteed deal for 2.5. Like, he's a lottery ticket worth hanging on to. Certainly agree, Spencer. This was a fun exercise that certainly took longer than anticipated, but I'm glad.
Rapid fire, real quick. Two-way guys. Rapid fire.
Two-way guy.
Naquan stays, obviously. Naquan stays, obviously. He's on a multi-year, so he's not going anywhere. But Amani Bates and Luke Travers, go.
I think Luke Travers will be back. I think Amani Bates will not. Where are you at?
I think that Amani will not be back, and I don't know if Luke Travers will be back. So we'll see.
Interesting. I am fascinated to find out. We are certainly very interested to see what the Summer League roster is going to look like, because that's certainly where those guys would be if they are on it. But Spencer, thanks so much for doing this, man. Where can everyone find your stuff?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Spin Davies, same on Instagram. As Danny was mentioning, Courtside with Cavs on SI. That's our podcast over at Cleveland Cavaliers on SI. It's on YouTube, so subscribe, like, rate, comment, do all that good stuff too on the podcast platforms. It helps me and Spencer out tremendously. Also do work for Close Up 360. Just did a documentary with Isaac Okoro, just a mini documentary. A couple episodes out on Close Up 360. Had a really good time producing that. Also have NBA content over at rg.org, NBA draft content at Babcock Hoops, and I also do some stuff with Tegna over at Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. So kind of everywhere, trying to figure out this this world of sports a little bit. But I will be in Vegas for Summer League, so my favorite time of the year. Can't wait for that.
Yes, very excited for that to get here when it does get here. But thank you for making Locked on Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find us, as I said earlier, anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked on Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure your friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching on YouTube as we get out of here, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe. Hit that notification bell. And I'll be back next week talking more about the Cleveland Cavaliers.